What's happening, everyone? It's Peter Weitzman, founder of Expedition Money. Question that I got here are, what financial problems are employees dealing with? And this is important because as an organization that is providing financial wellness program to your people, you want to provide one that is relevant, timely, appropriate, topical. And if you don't know what your people are dealing with, then it's hard to provide the right solution. Now, I want to say this, and this is not to be a knock on what you do. Most HR departments actually don't know what problems their employees are dealing with. And that's not to say that they can't. It's just to say that the HR role, as far as I can tell, and for some of my friends that work in it, is so busy. HR departments deal with so much stuff. It's not just the recruiting and placing people into jobs, but it's keeping employees happy and keeping them engaged and looking at your workforce and retaining people and compliance and laws and rules and all of these other things, right? They do so much. And the reality is you cannot just sit around and talk about, hey, what financial problems are ailing you? What financial problems are ailing you? So a lot of times HR departments are relying on the research that's being done on the population as a whole. And now I have heard some HR departments bring in companies and they say, hey, this is the problem that my people are having. Let's work on that. And the program doesn't get a lot of engagement. And they realize, hey, what we thought was an issue isn't really an issue. What I want to say and what I want to absolve you of is basically you shouldn't have to know. And the reality is most employees are probably going to keep a lot of that secret. Even when you are addressing issues directly, in exit interviews, why are you leaving? Many employees or former employees at that point don't really give you the true and honest answers. They don't want to burn bridges. They don't want to throw someone on the bus. They don't want to make hay as they're walking out the door. Maybe they want to come back at some point. It's really hard to get honest answers unless you're using maybe a third party and the information is going to be anonymous. Even on places like Glassdoor where you can put anonymous feedback and reviews, sometimes those answers are a little couched because you might be able to figure out who they are. If it's a former employee and they just left and it's a review left by a former employee that just left, you might be able to put two and two together. So the answer here is that I don't think you should have to worry too much about knowing what the financial problems are that your employees are dealing with. Because there are vendors like me and programs and researchers out there that are keeping abreast of what those issues are. And at the time I'm making this video, I can just tell you that debt and how to overcome debt are the biggest and most common topics. And those are usually pretty consistent. A lot of people seek out the help of professionals when they are in some sort of trouble. You don't necessarily seek it out just because you're curious or you're trying to optimize around the edges or something. So debt is a very common one. Debt haunts a lot of people, the majority of people. But the way I help you figure that out is I produce a lot of content. I put that content out there in the public sphere as well. And I look at the analytics very closely. I look at what's being consumed, how long it's being consumed. In fact, I look at what parts of the content are being consumed. If people are looking at specific how-tos as opposed to understanding the problem or an educational piece or something like that, then we can dive into that. And I can tell you that, hey, maybe people are looking for more help on this in the Midwest. More people are looking for this on the West Coast or whatever it might be. We can really split those analytics down because this is distributed over tens or hundreds of thousands of people. So that is often very helpful when I'm working with an employer and they're saying, hey, we have people that work in assembly line, or we have people that work in an office, or we have people that work in a retail store. I can help give you a little bit of guidance on what those problems might be. You might have some indication or a hunch of what those issues are that are ailing those people, but I don't think it's up to you to have to know that. I think you can come to your vendor, your financial wellness provider, and say, hey, you tell me what we should be creating. And hopefully those companies are looking at what the trending issues are for people and making content for that. So hopefully if you get a financial wellness program that is relevant and topical and addressing concerns real time, then you don't have to worry about that. You know that by putting that program into place, the people that are going there are going to see stuff that is relevant to them. So what financial problems are employees dealing with? That really depends. It depends on the time and the cycle in the economy and their geography and the jobs that they're in and lots of other different things. But what I'm saying here is that you as an HR department or employee benefits group should be generally absolved about having to know too much about what those problems are because your vendor should be providing you some of that information. I hope that helps. I'll see you later.